Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a fascinating, highly complex, and honestly, often completely overlooked corner of the globe. We're talking about Paraguay. It's this incredible story of how profound dualities and literally devastating crucibles ended up forging a modern, remarkably resilient nation. So let's uncover the forgotten heart of South America.
Now, you might be wondering, where exactly is the forgotten nation of Paraguay? And it's a fair question. Because despite being nestled right between absolute powerhouses like Argentina, Brazil, and Bolivia, this landlocked, kind of Y-shaped nation remains a geographical and cultural mystery to so much of the outside world. For centuries, it's just been known as the land of forgotten treasures.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the heart of South America, move on to isolation and early independence, look at the crucibles of war, then dictatorship and democratic transition, followed by the modern economy and environment, and finally, a resilient cultural heritage. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The Heart of South America, Duality and Geography. So to really understand Paraguay, you absolutely have to grasp this foundational duality. It's like a giant puzzle. On one side, you have the Spanish colonial legacy stretching all the way back to the 1500s. And on the exact opposite side, these deeply interwoven Guaraní roots. And the thing is, the Guaraní race and language aren't just historical artifacts, right? They're an active part of everyday life, bringing this entirely unique worldview that's focused on living in deep spiritual harmony with nature.
Section 2. Isolation and Early Independence, from Jesuit missions to Dr. Francian. The journey to independence here takes a pretty wild turn. We see the Jesuits arriving in 1588, organizing these massive agricultural missions. But if we fast forward past their 1811 independence from Spain, a figure named Dr. Francia actually takes power in 1814. And driven by this intense paranoia of foreign influence, he did the unthinkable. He literally walled Paraguay off from the outside world for nearly a quarter of a century. No way in, no way out.
Now, you'd probably think a completely sealed-off country would just economically suffocate, right? Well, actually, the exact opposite happened. A state-run black market sugar monopoly miraculously transformed the early republic. By subsidizing local sugar, the regime defied international bans and somehow made Paraguay the world's second-largest sugar producer in the 1830s. It's a crazy reversal of expectations.
Section 3. The Crucibles of War, Devastation and Triumph. 90%. I want to let that number sink in for a second. During the War of the Triple Alliance in 1864, Paraguay faced the combined, overwhelming forces of Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay. It was an absolute humanitarian catastrophe that wiped out an estimated 90% of Paraguay's adult male population. It resulted in total social and economic collapse, leaving this profound collective trauma that honestly still echoes there today. But history is full of wild cards. Decades later, we see a complete reversal of fortune when we contrast that absolute devastation with the Chaco War of the 1930s. Fighting Bolivia over the swampy Chaco region, Paraguay was massively outgunned and outnumbered 3-1. Yet they pulled off a triumphant underdog victory, securing massive territory and fundamentally shifting domestic power over to the military.
Section 4. Dictatorship and Democratic Transition, the Long Shadow. 35. That's the number of uninterrupted years General Alfredo Stroessner held power, starting in 1954. And historically speaking, this era was built on two very conflicting pillars. On one hand, you had severe systemic political repression and censorship, but on the other, there was aggressive state-led economic development that rapidly modernized the country's infrastructure.
That long shadow finally broke in 1989, when a sudden coup forced a rapid, almost overnight transition to democracy, leading to free elections by 1993. But because this shift happened so fast, the nation was really left scrambling to untangle decades of deep-rooted bureaucratic corruption while grappling with the lingering trauma of the previous authoritarian era.
Section 5. Modern Economy and Environment, Power, Resources, and Conflict.
Today, Paraguay faces new economic opportunities, but they are inextricably linked to some severe tensions. Looking at the economy now, it's defined by vast inequality in land distribution. Notice that massive 65% slice? That represents flagship agricultural estates, while a mere 5% belongs to smallholder family farms. This intense concentration is actually a direct legacy of the 1960s, and it continues to drive massive socioeconomic divides today.
And those land disputes, they feed into a deeply interconnected web of modern challenges. A massive foreign demand for soy and beef is driving rapid agribusiness expansion, which, as you'd guess, directly correlates to spikes in deforestation and the painful displacement of small farmers. Even their massive Itaipu Dam, which is this amazing beacon of hydroelectric wealth, really shows how resources can become a double-edged sword when they're clouded by domestic controversy and corruption.
Section 6. A resilient cultural heritage, Guarani and beyond. Let's move to the heartbeat of the nation. Honestly, nothing embodies Paraguay's incredible resilience quite like the Guarani language. Despite centuries of colonial suppression and massive demographic shifts, Guarani never faded. It wasn't just preserved in old textbooks. It was, and still is, a living, breathing force, spoken in the streets, in homes, and in the very soul of the country.
And you know that vibrant pride? It just bleeds into every single facet of life. You hear it in the intricate, masterful melodies of the Paraguayan harp. You see it in the fierce, absolute pride for their two-time Copa America champion football team. Today, they're actively leveraging this diverse heritage to forge a rising, sustainable ecotourism sector that celebrates their roots.
I think this quote perfectly captures what we're witnessing today. It's an ongoing cultural recovery. Stepping out from the shadows of its really heavy past, this is a vibrant society eager to reclaim its joyful, easygoing nature, sharing its warmth and totally unique identity with the world once again.
So, I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder. Considering all we've covered, the extreme isolation, the devastating demographic losses of war, the decades of dictatorship, and today's environmental hurdles, how does Paraguay's incredible journey reshape your understanding of human resilience? It stands as proof that a nation's heartbeat can endure almost anything. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.